Born many years ago, precisely on the 16th of June 1937, into the family of late Louis Nwosu Asika and Teresa Blackie Asika. Nwora Asika attended primary schools in Lagos, Ibadan, and Onitsha. In 1952, he gained admission into one of the premier and prestigious colleges in Nigeria, St. Gregory's College, situated at Obalande, while his family residence was at Ikoyi in Lagos State. At the demise of his father, Louis Nwosu Asika, who was a senior police officer in 1956, Nwora relocated with his mother and siblings to Enugu State, where he completed his secondary school education at the very popular College of Immaculate Conception, CIC, Enugu. Having captained his school sports team for 2 years, Nwora Asika was an outstanding sportsman. Apart from athletics, his other favorite sports were, and still are, boxing and cricket.
My name is Nwora Asika. My other title name is Nnanyelugo.
Teresa Uzoma Mwoga.
I'm Chief Chulo Asika, the Akpeolodi of Onitsha.
Hi, my name is Obi Asika.
My name is Nnanyelugo Asika.
My name is Ambassador Chief Chika Okpala, MON, MFR, FTA, UN Noble Rescue Ambassador for Africa, for peace in Africa.
I am Chief Pete Edochie, MON. I was a broadcaster for 31 years, and I retired as the Director of Programs.
My name is Deaconess Anne Ifeoma Ogugwa Eze. I'm a retired management consultant by profession, but I started my career in broadcasting, Eastern Nigeria Broadcasting Corporation, in 1964-65.
My name is Elder Mrs. Betty Nkechinyere Abuba ni Okaha.
My name is Lolo Enyikenyi Ethel Chineze Ihekorommadu ni Asika.
Now, the meaning of Nwora is a long story. When my mother had her first birth, the young man only lived for about 6 months. Then she was pregnant again. She had the second baby, a boy too. And the boy left 11 months after. And there was no jubilation, no party, nothing, when she had the first and the second boys. About a year and a half later, she gave birth to me. And my grandmother took care of me when I was a small boy. But I wasn't even up to 1 year old at that time. So she insisted that my mother should bring me down to Onitsha because I was born in Lagos.
Hello and welcome. What you have just watched is a panoramic view of places, monuments and people of Onitsha, of blessed memory and of today, painting a beautiful picture of an enviable cultural heritage and of a great model of an ancient monarchy, flourishing on several hills, providing anchorage, as it were, for higher spiritual knowledge from which Ozo Abalanzo Onitsha takes his bearing.
I joined broadcasting in 1967 when I ran away from northern Nigeria, that's the Eastern Nigeria Broadcasting Corporation. That was where I met Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika. If my memory does not trick me here, I think I can recollect the circumstances. It was in the evening, and he had come to take the news on television. He was wearing grayish, almost bluish gray suit, something like that, which, by the way, looked very well on him, well dappered, spruce. And he had a cigarette. He was puffing a cigarette while he was rehearsing the news. I remember very well, we were all smoking then anyway. So when eventually he went on to read the news, I was taken in by his delivery, and I said, this is somebody I'd certainly like to meet, you know. Progressively, I came to realize that he was sounding very much like the man who engaged all of us, John Dixon Odo Ekwere from Etinang in Akwa Ibom State. If both of them were reading, you really couldn't tell the difference, you know, and I had a lot of people who served as mentors to me, and one of them was Nwora Asika. I never forget that. And Nwora has had a fair of hard knocks, you know, because I was there when his wife passed on, and I was also there when his only son, who was very close to me, I was calling his son Rangers, you know, when he passed on too. So I think adversity and profession got two of us together and welded us into people with a common destiny, and we have remained so ever since, you know. Nwora loves me a great deal, and my wife, and we don't joke with him because we have always looked up to him, and it has remained that way, so I'm happy about it.
Nwora Asika is a brother-in-law who married my late sister. That was in Enugu in the early 70s. They had a beautiful relationship which spread to the family. Even after her death, the relationship continued. With the children, you know, we interact a lot up till present date. So I would say I have a good relationship with Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika.
Yeah, Nnanyelugo is my uncle and, you know, my father's cousin. So I've known him all my life, actually. And I think I met him before I knew him, or I knew him before I met him, if you get what I mean, because of course I was a kid and he's much older than me. But my memories of him are always being the best spoken, always the most articulate. You know, he was an on-air personality and a radio person and an MC host. So when you grow up with these kind of people around you who speak so well, I think I probably spent my life trying to sound like him at some point in time. So yeah, I've known him all my life.
How did I meet him? He's my father. I'm his first daughter. He has 4 daughters, so I'm the first. And yeah, my relationship with him is that of a father-daughter relationship. Like I said, he's my father.
I ran into Nwora 64 at the end of my Cambridge exam. You know, you call it WAEC. After that, I went job hunting at the broadcasting house. And that was either November or December 64. And I ran into him. And told him I was looking for a job. So he directed me to the office where to submit my application. That's how it all began. Well, my relationship with him was, or is, that I got the job anyway. I submitted the application. A few weeks later or thereabout, you know, I started the job. And I found that I was handed over to him more or less to take care of me, you know. I was sharing a table, you know, with Ngozi Omerua, Ni Onwumere. And Nwora was more or less in charge of our section. And at a stage, we had to anchor a program together. And that program was called Take It From Me. And we continued with that program until I left the broadcasting house. because I had to travel out. We were good friends. We were very good friends.
Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika is the first son of my parents. So he's my eldest brother.
I met Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika when I was quite young. I think I was in class 3 when I met him, when he came to marry my sister, my immediate elder sister. Though late, we got along very well, and we are still getting along very well.
The costumes are interesting. Costly noble wrappings called George, white lace blouses and red beads. They wear red ribbons in their hair, and each dancer holds a white handkerchief.
Nwora had a stint with the Nigeria Tobacco Company, Lagos, from where he joined the Eastern Nigeria Broadcasting Corporation, ENBC, Enugu, in 1962. ENBC was a radio television broadcasting outfit. Because of his exceptional talent in presentation, particularly in the newscasting, Nwora was endorsed for further training by the management of ENBC. In 1965, he proceeded to Britain, where he attended the British Council-sponsored BBC Senior Presenters course at the Langham Portland Place, London. Also in 1971, Nwora attended the British Council Mass Communication course at the University of Lagos. In 1973, he was out to Thomson Foundation College in Glasgow, Scotland, for a senior TV producer-director's course. By his talent and performance, Nwora attracted a lot of viewership and listenership to the ENBC. Fondly called Mr. Voice, the man with the golden voice, or the voice of the East, Nwora Asika never relented in his quest to achieve greater heights.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika for the 2018 Africa's Award. Congratulations.
It's such a coincidence that right after getting this merit award, we've come a long way. We had a very good time in First Act 77. And he was extremely hardworking, but equally full of life, vibrant. And I used to stop small. But indeed, he was an embodiment of hard work. Nwora was just simply wonderful in every sphere you can think of. I really wondered what he was going to be when he got out to broadcasting. But he found something to do. And I believe he's still connected with broadcasting. If you still remain the golden voice, say a word or two while I congratulate you.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't sue anybody for delving into my archives to put down all the encomiums you have given on me today. But I would rather say that I'm appreciative of the recognition given to me by the NBC and other agencies. And I thank the NBC really, or NTA, Nigerian Television Authority, for giving me the playing
level playing ground to excel in my profession. As the MDNBC said,
oh yes, I have a nickname. When I was in college, both in St. Gregory's College in Lagos and College of Immaculate Conception, Enugu, I maintained that name at Enugu. And my nickname is Suki Terror. Suki happened to be the name of a big chief, traditional chief. I don't know where, but somewhere in Africa. And the terror came about when I was in school, in the boxing club. I was a boxer, and most of my opponents went home bloodied, either the nose bleeding or the mouth bleeding or whatever. And so each time they saw me, they said, that young man, don't let him fight you because he's a terror in the rings. So I got the name Suki Terror. Again, I got the same name, Suki Terror, in athletics. At Enugu, CIC Enugu, I was school sports captain for 2 years before I left. And we had what you call the Panabi Cup. Either Panabi Cup or Panabi Shoe, one of the two. We are competing there. Whole Eastern States was competing for that cup, the whole Eastern States. At that time, it was Eastern Nigeria, really. And I happened to be, at that time, the fastest sprinter in my own zone. So that's how I maintained the name Suki Terror. It's only those who were my schoolmates that called me Suki Terror.
Yeah, I know of two. The first, when he was in high school, CIC Enugu College of Immaculate Conception, Enugu, in Enugu State. He was into sports, and I think he was doing 100 meters or something, but it was in the track field. So he was so good and formidable. So his opponents they're always like, okay, he's here, So they started calling him Suki Terror because they said he was like a terror on the track field. So the second was when he was a broadcaster, before he retired, because of his voice, because of his unique voice, smooth voice. So they started calling him Mr. Golden Voice. He still has that voice till today, very smooth, so good, to listen to. So yeah, two nicknames, Suki Terror and Mr. Golden Voice.
His relation, his cousin or brother, was the administrator at the end of the war. We were calling Nwora the Gwamna. That is the way the Northerners pronounce governor. So we're calling him the Gwamna. And up till this moment, when I call him, I call him the Gwamna. Well, that's one nickname I know that he has, which I think, I guess I gave it to him, I don't know, but I think I gave it to him. If he had any in school, because I know he's schooled in the West, either St. Greg's or something, I wouldn't know that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I used to call him, I still call him Uncle Nee. Some people ask, why do you call him Uncle Nee? I call him Uncle Nee because Nwora. People call him Nwora Asika, Nnanyelugo. But me, I gave him that special name, Uncle Nee, because he gave me a nickname while I was young, Berry Blue. He used to call me Berry Blue. And I love it. He's a big brother to me. He's a very jolly man. He cares so much for people. And being a broadcaster, he likes to talk and he talks good. How about nicknames? I will only say the other name we call him in the family circle is Nnanyelugo. Nnanyelugo is his title name. If there are any other nicknames, I'm yet to know them.
I really don't know, I think I'm probably too young to know the nicknames. But I can imagine he would have had some nicknames around based on the way he spoke. And, Becker or something like that, because the English was always impeccable. I don't know, but I don't know, I can't say 100%. But I can imagine he had a few. My uncle he's a man with a great sense of humor.
Well, usually broadcasters, because of the job they do and their kind of mannerisms, they tend to build up or acquire some nicknames. For Nwora Asika, I think it was called Nnabenji as a nickname, because when I took over the chief character in a lighter mood, where the producer James Iroha, the late James Iroha, may God bless his soul, introduced a piece of drama into the In a Lighter Mood. He created the drama they called Chief Josephat Okoro Nwogbo, alias 430, Nnabenji. And the first person to play it was Nwora Asika. I was told, because I wasn't there at that time, and I was not inclined to the media at that time. I was doing my job, looking for what to do to eat here and there, moving up and down. So at that time was when we move, anytime the news is on at 7, and the golden voice comes on, all of us rush to the radio. It was radio then, there was no television, to listen to Nwora Asika give news. And so we were. And then, after some time, some people started linking his voice with Chief Josephat Okoro Nwogbo, alias 430, Nnabenji. And they were calling him Nnabenji, Nnabenji, Nnabenji. Anywhere he goes, they said Nnabenji. We had never seen him with our eyes, because it was not television, it was radio. So, and once they said, that is Nnabenji, who you listen to, who you in the Chief Josephat Okoro Nwogbo, alias 430, in a lighter mood of the ECBS. So, we are all enthused and wanted to see who he was. And me, I was struggling. So when I hear that Nnabenji is going to hold the microphone in the stadium, there is something going on. It's either the Children's Day or some other thing that is coming on at the stadium, some other state functions, that Nnabenji will hold the microphone. I will rush to the stadium. One, I didn't know who he was at that time, but I will, at the far end where I was staying at the popular side, we can't come to the cover side where the dignitaries are. We have to go to the sun, very far off from the podium, to sight, who is this Nnabenji? And as soon as he comes on stage to either change the program or to announce the next program coming on, and they said, that's him, that's him, that's him. All of us will now. So his nickname was Nnabenji.
Well, he had nicknames by others, but I call him Nwora. I call him Nwora. I hardly call his last name, which is Asika. And my own nickname for him is Take It From Me. Because he always said, just take it from me. This is the right thing to do. And so we had a program. and we called it Take It From Me. That program was one of the most listened to program between 64 and 65 that I was with the station. You know, you get so many people calling in because Nwora was something else.
Like most he had a nickname, Soki Terror, in his days in St. Gregory's and CIC Enugu. St. Gregory's Lagos and CIC Enugu.
Hello again. My name is Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika. I dare say I feel highly honored as a member of Agbalanze Onitsha to stand in as your anchor for a most revealing account of an ancient and prestigious socio-cultural organization whose defining agenda is an unrelenting quest never to fail in its calling of priesthood.
In appreciation for his humble contribution to the progress and growth of ENBC, Nwora was sent to the Bayero University College, Kano, for Arts Appreciation Workshop, a workshop aimed at training media operatives for effective coverage of the National Festival of Arts and Culture, Festac 77. Nwora Asika was also the following amongst many: Chairman of Bond TV Subcommittee, National Sports Festival, 1973, and National Arts Festival. Commentator, Bond TV Operations, Festac. Head of Public Affairs, Enlightenment Sports, NTA Enugu, till 1978. First Zebrodaya Chief Okorigwe Nwogbo, alias 430, of the then famous Masquerade comedy drama, created in the 70s as confirmed by late James Iroha and Chief Chika Okbala. National Zonal Chairman of Igbo Cultural Association of Nigeria that hosted the first ever National New Yam Festival, Iriji Ndigbo, which was celebrated at Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, Enugu. Guest commentator, East Central States Ministry of Information, Film Division, Enugu. Chairman of Disciplinary Committee, Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, Enugu chapter. Initiated into the prestigious Agbalanze Cultural Association of Onitsha in 1977, Nwora goes by the title Nnanyelugo. Nnanyelugo has since been a huge part of the association, his presence till date undoubtedly felt by his fellow associates. His demised wife, Mrs. Anne Okuchi Asika, played a laudable and commendable role in his media life. Their marriage was blessed with 5 children, namely Ikechukwu, Chinelo, Uzamaka, Obiozo, and Obianuju. His hobbies are traveling, writing, cooking, and photography. Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika bowed out of service in 1978 to establish his private business with the name Mulane Media.
Jolly man. Jolly man. Anywhere he got into, people would like to talk with him because he was a good broadcaster. People looked forward to hearing his news. He had his own special way of introducing himself when he wants to read the news at 9. People used to start, this is the news read by, they would say their name, but he would just say, the news read by Nwora Asika. You know, that gave him a special personality, and he was known everywhere in Enugu. People would like to relate to him. And he's still, now that he's in Onitsha, he's still the Nnanyelugo everybody would like to be friends with. I would say he lived up to the expectations of all who admired him. He was a perfect gentleman who did his job very well and was well known in the then Eastern region. Wherever his name is mentioned, it was always attributed to the broadcasting world.
He's always been jovial, a great sense of humor, almost like, you know, my memories of him are always positive. You know, somebody who was always like the life of the party, the positive energy in the room, very, very intelligent, very articulate, and always strategic, because he was coming from a perspective of communication and PR, things that he understood naturally and that were involved in the work he was doing, and things that I've gravitated towards in my own work. So yeah, I think he was an early inspiration in many ways, without even knowing that, just by watching him. And I didn't even know he was being an inspiration to me in that way, but it just happened to be the case.
Back in the days, my father was tough, very tough, was strong, resilient, and a hard worker. When he wants to get things done, he goes all out, he gets things done, he doesn't cut corners. And he's a man of integrity and a highly principled man. So, like I said, nothing has changed then and now, still the same.
For then, he was a gentleman. And I think he kept to his appointments. He never disappointed. It was not, the Nnanyelugo thing did not consume his behavior. So he was distinct. He was a cool and obedient broadcaster that takes up his job seriously. And anytime he's on beat, he will be at the beat. Anytime he's on news, he never misses his time of news, because so many people are in the town wanting to listen to Nnanyelugo. He will give them the main point. When other people read news, they don't take it hook and sinker like they take from when Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika gives his news.
Well, I'll start by describing him then, and maybe I'll be able to, come down to what I think he is now. In those days, I can tell you that Nwora was a very committed broadcaster, serious-minded, very intelligent. And in fact, you dare not go late to any of the programs. As close as we were, I was amazed when one day I came a little late. And the way he talked, I was so scared. I was 19 plus then, so I thought he would never talk to me again because I was late by a few minutes. But amazingly, within few minutes, Nwora was back to himself. He was a very good teacher, very patient, very understanding in those days. I can tell you that. And it's broadcasting or nothing else. You better do it right. You have to do it right if you want to be in his good books.
He has always been a friendly person. He was an athlete, very good in sprint. Socialized a lot in his student days and his working days. He's just a likable personality. He knows no bounds about friends and associates. He's friendly with young and old. And he likes children, playing around him and all that, He's a wonderful character.
We got quite close eventually, and I was learning a lot from him, I must tell you the truth. Professionally, he was a source of inspiration to me. He was my senior, and I believed very much that if I got close to him, I would learn a lot, and I did. Finally, we were sent to Lagos for the All Africa Games, and unfortunately for me, I caught cholera on that trip, and it was Nwora Asika who brought me home from Lagos, and I was in very bad shape. I mean, I was dripping, I was oozing physics, and he brought me back. I soiled his vehicle because I was not in one piece. And for that, I said to myself, I must be eternally grateful to this man. And I think I have remained that way. So we've been very close, very, very close. Through him, I got to know Ikenna Ndagoba. Ikenna too was from Onitsha. Ikenna is dead now. And during the war, we were all in Voice of Biafra. Nwora was reading the news. I was reading the news.
The Onitsha man recognizes the frailties and the extremely limited capacity of man, and therefore sees the need to attract divine grace for his well-being.
In 1965, I was sent by my employers to BBC in London for a senior presenters course. Then in 1973, I went to Glasgow, Scotland, for a senior producers television course. And in 1982, myself and my wife went to Germany, spent about a month, just ordinary visit,
Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika bowed out of service in 1978 to establish his private business with the name Mulane Media, a public relations outfit and publishers of a now defunct local tabloid, Niger Crusader. Playing the role of a media consultant, Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika is now enjoying his retirement in his country home at Onitsha and eternally thankful to his creator for his life achievements. His 4 surviving daughters and his many, many grandchildren.
A known broadcaster, a journalist, and he was rated very high, and he got a merit award when they were some years ago. We were watching him on telly. They were asking him to say something that he used to do before he retired. He still said the news, so he was known for that. He did his job very well as a broadcaster, and whenever you mention Nwora Asika, they attribute it to his media days and his broadcasting career, which he carried very well. I rate him very high in his profession.
He was a broadcaster. He worked in NTA, Nigerian Television Authority, in Enugu. He also worked in ABS, Anambra Broadcasting Service, and he was a news anchor, and he also dabbled into print journalism. Niger Crusader, he owned his own newspaper, Niger Crusader, for a while. His work ethics, he was always hardworking, and he was objective in his reporting. I studied mass communication too, so we were trained to always be objective when you are reporting and when you're disseminating information, and always do your background check. So my father was like that, always, objective, like I said, resilient, and a hard worker. And he's someone that when he's doing anything, he goes all out and puts his back into it. He always makes sure to deliver the best. He doesn't cut corners.
With regards to his work, he was a serious-minded broadcaster, very serious-minded, and he will go to all lengths to get the best out of any program that you give to him. I remember that he had to produce a program on the TV. In those days, it was radio and television, so we were working both on radio as well as television. And he had to interview my father, who at that point in time was the Assistant Commissioner of Police, you know. And it will appear that Nwora worked throughout the day, the night, and so on to make sure that that program came out so nice. My father was very proud of him. And he kept saying, these are the kind of people we need in broadcasting. Not all those who will just be jabbing anything they like, you know. And I can tell you from that day, my dad will always ask after him. I recall once we were to have a birthday in my house, and I was inviting my friends. The first thing my dad asked me was, have you invited Nwora? I said, no, I didn't even think about it. He said, no, he should be the first person on the list. You know, so that's the kind of person. He's easily accommodated, he's easily taken in by people that he comes across, you know. And even my father at that point in time, I was amazed. A detective, you know, to have been bought over by Nwora's goodness, his level of respect. He was a very respectful man.
His major job was in broadcasting, and he's well known in the country. But he started in the ministry, or rather, he started, I think, with the tobacco company, but then switched to broadcasting, where he excelled. His news reading standard was exemplary, and can only compare him with people like Abba Zoro, Eken Nandaguba, Kalonse. So he was in the class of the top division of broadcasters in those days. And they anchored a lot of documentaries and so on. So he was a top flight broadcaster.
For me, my uncle's like, you know, life of the party, life of the community. He's one of those people that in any room that he's in, you know he's in the room. A people person, a man of integrity, and who's always been real. Always in touch with me. You know, it's funny because I have a personal relationship with him, and it's always to do with his sense of humor. So for me, the memories are around his, you know, positive energy, sense of humor, his sophistication actually as well, because he's a very sophisticated man and a gentleman to the core.
Nwora, my cousin, as I always known him, has always been a jovial person. He worked with the NTA. He was with the media, and everybody loved his job that then. My kids were very small then, but during his program period, they would all be jumping to hear his voice. He's a very talented person.
Film shows of arts and crafts. The exhibition of arts and crafts takes place at the Lagos State Cultural Center Pavilion, Victoria Island. Throughout the week, the exhibition of both traditional and contemporary works of art remain open for public viewing.
Having worked in a radio television station, my favorite hobby then was photography. Then after that, I love sports. Having captained my school for 2 years and participated even in national competitions, national sports competitions. So I like sports. And of all the sports I like my best is cricket. I played cricket, followed by athletics, followed by boxing. Not much of football. I'm not a very good football fan. So my favorite sports, really, my favorite hobby. I like cooking too. Oh, yeah, that is my favorite hobby. cooking, traveling, reading, writing, photography and things, you know. It's difficult for me to choose. But so far, my best is cooking. If I cook, you will call me a chef. When I was a child, I really wanted to be a doctor, not a broadcaster, not a broadcast journalist, no, a doctor. It only happened, and that's why I read science subjects in my college days. I took more of science subjects in my West African school certificate examination with the view of becoming a doctor, medical officer. My father passed out when I was in class 3. That was in 1956. So my ambition of becoming a doctor was dashed. I sought employment anywhere and I got a job with Nigerian Tobacco Company. Now they paid well. I liked the job. I was about sent to what do you call it? Junior management course in Ibadan. Then there was this advert from Eastern Nigeria Broadcasting Corporation in Enugu in late 61. So I said, broadcasting. I like that job. Let me try my hands on it. So I tried, and they invited me for interview. I was shortlisted for interview. I took permission from my employers at the NTC. I went there. We had audition tests, and they were looking for only two presenters for radio and television. And don't forget that if you are not photogenic, they will not employ you in the television house. I mean, if you're very ugly with all the bad faces and so on, nobody wants to project you on the screen and spoil his or her business. And if you don't have a good voice and you're croaking, nobody will advertise in your outfit. So these were the qualities they were looking for: voice and photogenicity. So we all applied. We were 45 vying for those two positions. That was early 62. Then they pruned us down from 45 to 5. I wasn't disturbed though. I wasn't frightened if I lose. What do I do and things? I will go back to my job in tobacco company. But out of 5 or 4, vying for 2 vacancies, then they selected 2 of us, myself and the late Tony Manuba from Imo State. And I was the only person between the 2 of us that was asked to take the news, because at that time our news bulletin was at 9:45. We call it 9:45 news bulletin. I was the only person allowed to take the news bulletin that same night. Not even to allow me to go home and eat, and that's the same night. In 1962 June. And that's how I went to broadcasting. And I was in broadcasting. I have been in broadcasting until I retired in October 1978. Then came back, started my own private business, my public relations consultancy. After that, I floated a local tabloid called Niger Crusader. So that's the genesis of my going to broadcasting, moving from medicine, former ambition, to broadcasting. And I enjoyed broadcasting a lot, because you met a lot of people at that time. You traveled quite a lot, traveled very, very widely, and there was justice, there was fairness. If your promotion was due, they review what you have done and promote you. Nobody cared whether you were Igbo or Yoruba. You know, whether you were a graduate or non-graduate and things. They promoted you.
I think he does, definitely. I think he's influenced everybody in the family, both by the way he carries himself, the way he comports himself, the way he spoke, the way he presented himself. when you're growing up and you see your older uncle, one of your uncles, he's cool, he's always a good-looking guy, well-spoken guy, driving a nice car, and has time for you, and he connects to you, and he communicates with you. So, yes, 100% he influenced me, and 100% that positive energy also rubbed off on me, and I try to be the same way. So there's a lot of me in him, there's a lot of him in me, I think, naturally, just because of maybe the blood relationship, and also the fact that I observed him for so many years. From a distance, but I observed him, and I took the things that I liked, which is his personality, just being cool naturally. So that internal fortitude, that enables him to maintain dignity at all times is perhaps his most important asset, and something that I aspire to hold on to as well.
He influenced me a lot in broadcasting. He was a very, very good news reader. He was a communicator, and I had to understudy him. Like I said in the very beginning of this interview, he was sounding very much like the man who engaged all of us, John Ekwere, and I thought I would model after them. So I understudied him, and at the time I began reading like him, so you couldn't tell the difference, He was a source of inspiration to me professionally, there's no doubt about it, yeah.
His influence came to when I took over the part of Nnabenji. So both of us shared the name Nnabenji on radio. When he left it, some other person played it, another person played it, the third person played before I came in. And then I wanted to, because I've been seeing him in the stadium, because I've been seeing him read news, I've heard him read news and all that. I wanted to sound like him, so as not to make too much difference. But not imitating him though, but just sounding like him. And it was not difficult for me to assume the personality of Nnabenji. I saw him as a role model, and so I took to him. When I took over Nnabenji, everybody said, "Hey, we have got Nnabenji." That was what they shouted in town. And then, since then I retained it. From there we metamorphosed into Masquerade, from there to New Masquerade.
The basic things, the basic qualification for broadcasting are: one, good voice that can carry, that can win. I had a lot of viewership and listenership, a lot. In fact, there was an incident at that time. It was 1975, 76, when a chap from Nsukka came to Enugu to ask my boss, late to be able to remove me from television newscasting. So me was surprised. So I said, why? I mean, you can't come from Nsukka and tell me to remove my staff. Well, why? What's the reason? You know the reason? The man said I was enticing his wife with my smiles and the way I wink at the end of the news. At any time it was the time for me to read the news, she wouldn't do anything again. You just sit down there and watch and listen. Now, that is not healthy for his family. You see, that type of thing, So, because at the end of every news, it was involuntary anyway. I would do like this, And people liked it so much. And I had a lot of viewership. I used to do a program on radio then called, request program called Take It From Me. And a lot of people wrote from all parts of the country because we had a very powerful transmitter. There was one chap from Abakaliki called Nkebo, something Owo. Anytime he would send a request to me, instead of calling me Nwora Asika, that name or those names sounded different to him. He would write to Mora Africa. You know that about this? I had listenership and viewership in all strata of the society, you know, high and low, big and mighty, and literates and illiterates. They would always, anytime I pass by, and this thing helped me. The only thing it did help me do was to allow me to take extra money from my bank. But this time I went into the bank, I had fantastic VIP attention. Broadcasting is a good job. It's a good profession, you know. I enjoyed it. It was great. Valuable thing I learned from my career, one, hard work. If you are not hard working, you can't work in a broadcasting house. Spending even your own money in the production of programs, then above all, discipline and tolerance. You have to tolerate everything. You know, in fact, if you're temperamental, you cannot work in a broadcasting house. So I learned tolerance and discipline above all things.
Well, you know, first of all, I was extremely happy a couple of years ago. He was given a Lifetime Achievement Award as a broadcaster in Abuja. Tells you everything you need to know about that. His contribution in broadcasting has been huge, both in the East and at the national level. He is very fundamental in trying to ensure that our local communities understand the power of communication. The thing I love about him is he's relevant in the village, he's relevant on the national stage, and that's the best way you can do it. He does it from top to bottom. So I think he's always been a community builder. He's always been a collaborator, always trying to make things happen. And that kind of energy is something that is great to see, especially as somebody who is, even at this age, still trying to make new things happen.
Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika is a traditional man to the core. He doesn't miss his ancestral home and aspirations. So I see him as a traditional man, and I see him as somebody who upholds the culture of Onitsha people and the Igbo people. I see him as such, and I think he is still holding that firm. He has never deviated. It's still that. It's cultural. When it is time to give thanks with kola nut to his gods, he will give thanks.
He knows his culture in Onitsha. He's a titled man in Abalanze. Everybody knows him there. And in the church, he's a Catholic, and he goes to communion, and he practices his religion perfectly. In his family, he knows how to control his family, brought them together after the death of his wife, and they are all united and God-fearing. That's the handwork of the father of the house.
If I was to give a younger person a career advice, obviously, I would ask him to take to broadcasting, you know, because in broadcasting you are exposed to a lot of things, how to prepare adverts, commercial jingles, how to edit news, you know, as a newscaster, really. Some little how to manipulate one or two machines, like gathering machines, how to transmit from your base to many miles away from your base. We are taught all that. It's a very, very rewarding and exciting profession. But if you are somebody who really likes money, there's no money in broadcasting, but you have name and you have fame. Some people say it's a thankless job. It's not a thankless job. It's a very rewarding, because in fact, broadcasting prepares you for the future. Whatever you want to be, start with journalism or broadcasting. The key to professional success is education. There's no other thing except education. And honesty too. You have to be honest with yourself and honest with your business. There's only one thing, like I said, is key, and possibly honesty and transparency.
He has left a good legacy that in the sense that when you see his children, when they talk, you know that this is a broadcaster's daughter or a broadcaster's son or a broadcaster's sister-in-law like me. So he left that legacy for us. I would say he's a no-nonsense person, and the legacy I think he left with all of us is whenever you have a job, you try and do your best with that job, and you'll be remembered by how you carried yourself during the job you did. And he makes everybody around him comfortable. So I would say he's a jolly good fellow.
It's about integrity, about dignity, about hard work, about being his own man, and about a life of love and being fulfilled. That, to me, is his legacy. My uncle is a very proud man, as all the Asikas are, very opinionated, as we all are, very intelligent, extremely articulate. You can't but sit with him and not love him. I mean, he has that personality. It is who he is, and he has always been who he is, and that's a wonderful thing, you know. I'm just thankful that he's here with us, and we can still enjoy and benefit from some of those times, and you know, have those conversations to talk about the good days. Because I think that, you know, he's somebody that, you know, really, I'm happy this kind of video has been made, and happy he'll get to see it, so that he sees a lot of his old friends and some of us younger ones who look up to him, and to say, hey, you know, thank you for being you all these years.
No matter what you do, always maintain a good name and be a person of integrity. Let your integrity speak for you. Celebrate the wins of others. Do not envy anybody. No jealousy, no envy. Celebrate the wins of others, and yours will come. And he said something to me the other time we were talking. He was like, I never drag anything with anyone. I never fight anyone over any material things, over anything. Just let things go. Let it go. But always maintain your integrity. Anything you have to do in secret ain't right. So that's the legacy, and that's what has shaped our upbringing. And anytime we want to falter and you think about what he has said and his words, and you know, because he keeps encouraging us, you get up, pick yourself up, and just move.
Yeah, I think he has left a lasting legacy of professionalism in broadcasting. And those today who are in broadcasting never lose sight of what Nwora Asika left behind. The way you comport your voice, the way you do not distort your English language with other languages so that you are focused. So I think it's a proper legacy he led. And the new broadcasters have cued into that.
All the people who worked with him and those who were privileged in the course of their profession to interact with him will always tell you how much of a fine gentleman Nwora is. You know, we made mistakes, we stumbled along, and if he were to correct you, he wouldn't give you the impression that you are not there at all. No. He would tell you that, well, you sounded well, but if you did it this way, I think it would be better. Right? So, like I said, he was a mentor, he was a teacher. Anybody who was privileged to have worked with Nnanyelugo, the Gwamna, we know that he was a very companionable person. And still is, by the way, yeah, because whenever we meet, it's to recollect old days with plenty of nostalgia. Death is beginning to pick us now, one by one, and well, that's a debt all of us must pay someday. But he's still alive, and he is somebody I will always cherish, I will always love, I will always admire because of what he has always meant to me and my family. My wife was a broadcaster, was my contemporary, and more or less adopted us. He was a wonderful person, has always been a wonderful person. He was a wonderful broadcaster, yes. And if you discuss with him now and you listen to the way he pronounces his words, the way he chooses his words, you will know that he's very much at home with language. He doesn't compromise his professionalism, no matter the inducement. If he wasn't convinced about anything, he wouldn't do it. Yes, he wouldn't do it. You would never force him to do something he does not accept, he does not appreciate. So I keep saying it. He remains a source of inspiration to me, a mentor, and a wonderful company, He has a very, very rare, sometimes morbid sense of humor. The Gwamna.
The legacy he has left, because, as I said, I only did broadcasting for 1 year. I think I'm one of his products. I want to thank God for him, because the little I know about broadcasting, I wouldn't have had it without him. The legacy I think he left for people like us, and even the generation after, is to be serious-minded with whatever you're doing. Don't walk lackadaisically, and when you're reading the news, you read it, from inside out. Not you're throwing the news at people as such. There's no atom of compassion. You need to hear Nwora read the news. You will be so eager when it is time for news to go and listen. I think that's one thing he left. And I guess the generation is catching up, but I'm yet to see one that read the news the way he did in those days, and to few of us that were trained by him.
Legacy goes to people who follow. And I think that his followers in broadcasting must be referring to his past performances and recordings, videos and on. And he should be inspiring them for them to aim to be like him. And this is the essence of legacy. When you look up to somebody as an idol, you'll try to copy him, emulate him, be like him. So I guess that any young broadcaster who wants to excel or advance should be listening to tapes and recordings of people like Nwora Asika and the other veterans I mentioned. His work ethics was perfect, and I haven't heard anybody talk ill of him at work or in society. So I think giving an A grade in personality, ethics, and socialization, it's enough legacy for people the young ones to emulate.
My cousin Nwora was very articulate. very straightforward, a good journalist, and everybody would like to follow his footsteps. My children also know him as a straightforward person.
Of course, I am married, but my wife is demised now. She packed up many, many years ago. We're in 2022, isn't it? And she left, she packed up 1993. She has been a widower since then. And by the grace of God, we have, between she and myself, we had formerly had 5 children. But the first boy, the only boy really, who happened to be the first child, passed on 2 years after the mother passed on. So I have 4 daughters now, and I'm happy. They are married with children, and God blessed me with 15 grandchildren, out of which 7 are males, 8 are females. So I'm thankful to God. What has now changed my life, when I was very ill in the early 80s, I had left service then. It had to do with fever or malaria or something. Very, very serious. I was in the hospital for quite some time. But by the time I came back, that ailment affected me adversely. That's why you see me, you hear me now talk, I stammer or something. Otherwise, I used to speak very smoothly. But because it had to do with my breathing and my heart and all that stuff. Now I can't talk straight without stammering.
Incredible.
Nwora Asika was a professional broadcaster.
Nnanyelugo Nwora Asika, Nnanyelia, a good man, a friend to all, my brother-in-law, with a difference. Nwora Asika is a distinguished gentleman.
To me, Nnanyelugo is, and has always been, a kind-hearted man with a global perspective, but from a strong connection to his community, and is from that ancient Oboza in Onitsha. He's kind-hearted, he's dignified, and he is an original, and he's an Asika direct descendant.
Nwora Asika is a unique person, is a unique individual, is a special person. And I'm not saying this just because he's my father. You can talk to anyone that knows my father, they will tell you he's a rare character. You don't get so many like him, seriously. He's someone you want to have in your corner because he's firstly loyal to his friends, to his family, people he holds dear to his heart. And my dad, one thing about my father is he believes in equality. He never looks down on anybody. He believes we are all equal. And he treats everyone equally. Everyone is welcome to his home, his table. He's kind-hearted and generous. He's not just Mr. Golden Voice. He also has a heart of gold.
There's no dull moment with him. No dull moment with Nwora. As serious-minded as he is with his profession, he's also a man that is full of fun and comics.
Nwora Asika is an icon of broadcasting, a gentleman. I think this country is unfortunate that they don't pay attention to people who serve the country adequately. In a civilized clime, there should have been a lot of documentaries on past broadcasters, including Nwora Asika. And the organization he worked for should, as a matter of policy, have such a program that will highlight the contributions of people like Nwora Asika. And my humble self, I was also a broadcaster. In fact, I had the opportunity of serving the Eastern Nigeria Broadcasting Corporation with him at the same time until I retired from broadcasting and traveled to study. But he gave all his life to broadcasting, and I believe that enough is not being done to honor them. Not just him, but the rest, others who have contributed to the growth of broadcasting in Nigeria.
I wouldn't go far with who he is. You understand what I mean? Because I wasn't his mate. I wasn't his contemporary. He had left the play Chief Josephat Okoromogbo before I came in. I didn't meet him on beat. So it will be difficult for me to say who he is. And thereafter, we are not mates. He was my senior by far. We are not mates. So I did not tangle with him here and there. But I'm seeing him as an admirer of him in his job as a broadcaster.
He's always willing to be of assistance. In other words, whenever you approached him for something, he never felt he was being disturbed, no. He was always willing to render assistance, no matter at what time of day, you know. He is somebody that does not discriminate. He's a very tolerant, he's a very accommodating person, you know. Whoever you are, wherever you came from, whatever you wanted to learn from him, he was always willing to oblige you. Yeah, he was. He speaks Yoruba with compulsive fluency. I think he was raised there. And look, Nwora is a complete human being. I just put it that way, yeah.
Nwora, my cousin, is a great entertainer. Age apart, he still entertains people. He's a very jovial person. When my kids were young, they enjoyed him. And everybody looks forward to seeing him again because he's never tired of being funny and entertaining people.
Unfortunately, he was not even a Nigerian, an Indian, and that person was Mahatma Gandhi. I so loved the man. He wasn't into this affluent way of dressing. He had this toga, you know, the thing he just rose like this. He wasn't wearing anything expensive, and he was talking sense. He was a revolutionary, mild revolutionary, and his voice then carried so much weight, so that every country, most countries in the world, leaders in the world emulated him. He was a great man. He was you call him a politician, you may call him a politician, but he was more than a politician. He was a humanist. He was the only person I admired and I emulated when I was young.
And so from our production team, it's bye for now and God bless.